You see, in my opinion, there's two types of people when it comes to working, and I've talked about this before. There's the honest day's work for an honest day's pay type of worker, and there's the all about work type of worker. One of my followers, he's always kind of, I think, unintentionally bringing up sort of good points for me to talk about. His last one was about how places don't cause problems when I think they technically can cause problems for some people. And kind of in those comments, he brought up a good point. When I was over in China, and I really noticed this more with Brits, British people. I don't know that I ever knew a fellow North American that did this, but I didn't go around asking too much either. So this tends to be I knew one Russian guy who did it a lot. Oh, actually, you know what? I did know one American who did this, and that is, you work at a university, for example, you teach there. I'm talking about China, and then on your days off or your holidays from university, you teach at like another university or another school, or what's popular to do is just teach part-time at a training center like New Dynamic or English First or El Linguaphone or New Oriental, or any number of those. They've gotten, they're much more popular than even when I was there, from what I understand now. And usually you get paid pretty good per hour, like 100 RMB per hour. This is when I was there, so it could be more now. So like 100 RMB per hour, and they usually pay you in cash. You don't have to worry about direct deposit or anything like that, because technically working part-time legally is very difficult. You have to pay a lot of additional taxes on the second job, so as far as most people are concerned in China, it's not technically legal to have a part-time job that's on the books. So even the big places will usually just pay you in cash. Less of a paper trail. Now, I when I was younger, I worked at a farm early in the morning, and then I would go to school in the afternoon, and then I'd go work for Microsoft at a tech support center all night, like until like 5 a.m. And sometimes I had a class at like 7. So sometimes I'd go to class before I even went to the farm. The farm was 7 days a week, usually. Sometimes it went down to 2 during certain parts of the year, but for the most part it was 7 days a week. The tech center was 5 days a week, and school kind of varied between 3 and 5 days a week. So I had someone very important to me that I was with at the time. Everybody has kind of a love of their life, and I think this girl was it. Sadly, all that didn't work out, and that's a different story, but we were together at the time, so there was my relationship that I kind of had to put, effort and time into as well. And then she had kind of her own things going on. She worked at a place, and she was doing some school too. and would occasionally help me out at the farm. So, because we weren't really getting to spend a whole lot of time together. She'd usually pick me up from the tech center and stuff. But, really aside from kind of sleeping together at night, and stuff like that, we weren't really getting to spend a whole lot of time together. So all of that was taxing, and it started to get to where surviving on 2 or 3 hours sleep a night was starting to be a problem. I started to kind of fall asleep at the tech center at night and stuff like that. I did eventually get promoted to a job that had less calls and had other people there around me all the time. So, and my headset rung out. So if I did go to sleep a little bit after hours, it was less noticeable. But there were situations where I missed a couple of calls, or someone was suddenly there saying hello repeatedly, and you realized that I'd dozed off. So at some point something had to go, and that kind of turned out to be school. I put that on hold for a while and decided, I'm making pretty good money with Microsoft, so I'm going to go ahead and sort of pursue this for right now, and just take a little time off school. I'd been going for a long time at that point, and sadly I ended up not finishing. But again, that's another story altogether. And then there've been a few other situations since then where I have I've held a couple jobs. One time recently, in fact, within the last few years, I was pretty much a landscaper, and then I worked at a call center. My main job was the call center, but outside of that, I did landscaping, which could be a yard or two, like a day, before work. Work was in the evening, so I had to get up pretty early to kind of get those two out of the way. But I don't know. I just don't have that in me anymore. I don't. My plate being full, just I can't handle it like I used to. I know some people never lose that. Never lose the ability to do that, and maybe this guy's one of those people. Or maybe British people are inherently very much about work. A lot of them seem to be. But there's two things I'm not. I'm not, one, completely about my job, which is why I like my job now. Because so many jobs that you go to these days, especially the ones that start paying at like $9, $10 an hour, are like, look, we really want you to move up in the company and like this and that and the other. And really, I have no intention of doing that, I'm not planning to stay at this grocery store forever. I like the job and everything. I might stay there, a couple of years, 2 or 3. But, at some point I want to move on to something a little better. But really what I'd like to do is get my guitar repair business up and going. But I've never inherently been about my job. I maybe was a little more so in China because you have less of a choice about it there. You have to do these things at training centers called English corners, and sometimes they also have English cafes. Cafes are a little easier because there's not really a topic. English corners used to be easier, but then all the schools sort of revamped everything in like 2008, and then you were either given a topic or you had to run the topic by your director of studies and make sure it got approved and everything. So really my work week was at least 50 hours. There was a lot of work I had to do at home and everything like that. I'm not necessarily per se talking about this guy. I don't know him well enough to say anything. But I will say this. Most of the teachers that I knew that did the whole full-time elsewhere, part-time at our place type of thing were some of the worst teachers I knew. Not necessarily that they taught badly, they just didn't really take it seriously. It's like they're at this part-time thing to make money, and since they weren't there all the time, they're only there a couple of days a week, or sometimes even a few days a month, it just depends. Students tended to like to sort of keep up with them and ask them questions and stuff like that about what they'd been up to, rather than them actually having to teach anything. And when they did teach something, there just seemed to be no effort in it. I don't know if that was due to fatigue or just not taking it seriously as a part-time job or whatever, but that is something that I did tend to notice. I didn't do much part-time work. Maybe here and there I did teach a few extra English lessons on the side to sort of make a little extra cash. I gave some guitar lessons here and there, but nothing major and nothing that really involved being around a lot of people and other students. Because regardless of whether it's here or there, I just have a hard time starting, seeing what I'm looking for, because the money, I don't know, money is just not, I'd like to have a lot of money, but when you get down to it, money is just not all that important to me. I like to have enough to get by, maybe get a few extra little things on now and then, and do all right. If I was going to make a lot of money, I'd like that to be on my terms, not someone else's. Because in order to make a lot of money in China, because they don't make saving easy, because you're always being overcharged as a Westerner, and the only way you can get money home is by sending it home with somebody that visits you, or taking it home when you visit someplace yourself, as long as it's under 10 grand US, or you have to Western Union it. I never had the other two happen to me, and the whole Western Union thing, you can only send like $3,000 at a time, and it's expensive to send it. It's like, people have to deal with picking it up. Just never had much luck getting money home. Converting it to USD is probably a good way to leave it alone. I did do that a couple of times, but the way everything went down, I had to convert it back to get out of some trouble. This is going to be a two-parter. Be back.